Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another round of Gen Live. Oh, I miss doing that. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? For those of you who are new or have no idea what's going on, my name is Adrian Abel Azevedo. I am a GeNarrations teaching artist, and this is GeNarrations Gens Live. This is the culmination of a whole session, 6 weeks of work coming together. If you don't know what GeNarrations is a writing for performance program centered around the lives of folks who are 55 years of age or better on a national level now that we get to do this virtually. So super exciting. We have a couple of states being represented today and later on in the afternoon session. The link I'll put in the chat for you, those of you who want to come and join us at the PM. But GeNarrations, writing for performance, we write 5-minute personal narrative stories. We pick a major theme from one of the plays being produced at the Goodman, and specifically in the Albert Theater. This time we got to see a play called The Neckarima Society by Pearl Cleage, and our theme was pageantry. So stories of pageantry. We use that as a cornerstone to then blossom out these amazing stories. I'm so excited for y'all to hear. We got 10 stories today. Let me do a little computering on my end. Let me move this and move this. I'm going to show you our team. Remove my noggin for a second. Boom, there we are. There's our cast today. Give a quick wave to the folks who are watching. Thank you so much for joining us. We have some amazing stories. We're going to start off with an amazing storyteller, Jean Bryan, and Jean's story is entitled Back to School. Jean, take it away.
By late August, all of my elastic-waisted jeans had holes in the knees, and my big toes were poking their way through the canvas of my run-around all-day tennis shoes. It was time for that final, torturous end of summer ritual, shopping for school clothes. Bad enough, the countdown to school imprisonment had begun in earnest, but to have to try on dresses? Yuck. And of course, back in those days, it was dresses and skirts. For me, as the youngest of the 4 daughters, the majority of my school outfits came from the back of my sister's closets. So step 1 for my back to school shopping happened in the privacy of my bedroom. My mom piled skirts, blouses, jackets, sweaters, snow pants, and boots on my bed. Everything that no longer fit either Carolyn or Barbara or Sue. And I had to try on everything. If a skirt fit but was too long, I had to stand very still while Mom pinned it up for hemming. Mostly this pile was boring, utilitarian, and used skirts and dresses. There were a few exceptions because my oldest sister wanted to be quite fashionable. So I did inherit a few pretty awesome skirts, like the red poodle skirt. But of course, by the time I got them, they were 7 years out of date. No wonder I always felt dumpy amongst the girls at school. They always had the best outfits, so I'm sure they were all either first daughters or only children. Back to the pile of clothes. After being used and reused by each of my 3 older sisters, there were always a few articles that were so worn out they did not cut the mustard, because they had mustard or ketchup or chocolate stains on them and needed replacement. So, to step 2 for the back to school ritual, putting together the shopping list. It would read pretty much like this: white blouses, white bobby socks, white girls' undershirts, white undies, and a white slip or half slip, and maybe a black or blue skirt. Shopping list at the ready, it was on to step 3. We'd be off to downtown Elmhurst. either Ruby's or the Elm or Old Swang's department store. My memory of these outings are really pretty blurred. It's all the same. I can't tell one year from the next, except for that one year. I'm pretty sure we were at the Elm, across the street from the train station. My little brother must have been with us because we were on the boys' side of the store. And maybe Mom pointed me across the room to the girls' skirt rack. Honey, go look over there. I'll be right there. So I did look over there, and there it was. Amongst the browns, the blues, and the blacks, a spot of bright red. It called to me. Now, if my life were a musical, at this moment, Enzio Pinza, you remember the handsome older Frenchman in South Pacific, would be singing in the background. Across a crowded room. It was a magical moment. I walked across that room toward that bit of red, and somehow you'll know even then. I stuck my hands into the rack and pushed back the other skirts to make room for my find. It was a plaid pleated skirt, and it came with a matching vest. That this is the one you'll wear again and again. It was new, not a hand-me-down. It was red, not dark. It was magical, like a suit of shining armor or Superman's cape. I knew that it would lift me up and never let me down. And did I mention it was new, not a hand-me-down? Mom, I want that one. I waited for the pushback. There was none of it. She bought it for me. No hemming or hawing, no ifs, ands, or buts. She just bought it for me. Looking back, I suspect this occasion is memorable for me almost as much for her reaction as for my instantaneous passion for a piece of plaid. She was so surprised at having her little summertime tomboy ask for a dress. She had to give it to me. And to be honest about that I asked for a dress, well, I was just as surprised as she was. Thank you.
Gene Bryan, everybody. Thank you for kicking it off, Gene. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, folks, next up, we have the lovely Marcia Fogel with her story, My Fickle Father. Marcia, take it away.
It was going to be the best day of my life. The minute my father got home from work, I told him, I'm going to be marching in the Thanksgiving Day parade. His face lit up and his eyes widened. He had that proud daddy look I had come to know and love. In high school, I belonged to the Caperettes, a precision dance group that would perform at halftime during football games. When I was one of 4 girls asked to march in the parade, I was so excited. Almost as excited as when I was going to see the Beatles at Shea Stadium. My dad told everyone in the neighborhood that I would be marching and carrying the flag. I felt as if I had just won the Academy Award. My childhood friend Adele would be marching in the group just ahead of me with the cheerleaders. Adele was outgoing, flirtatious, gregarious, everything I was not. For the first time, I did not feel that I was less than Adele. This was my big moment. As the days passed, I made sure my Caperettes uniform was cleaned and pressed. I chose the whitest pair of bobby socks to wear with my whiter than white sneakers. Everything was ready. I was more than ready. The meeting place for the marchers was just a few blocks from my house. My dad knew the exact time and place that where he should be settled with the parade watchers. And most important, he would have his camera ready. And finally, it was Saturday morning, showtime. Adele lived around the corner from me, and we walked to the meeting spot together. Her perpetual happiness was as infectious as ever. Caperette's uniform in place, white gloves on, flag arranged, and I was ready to go. I could see Adele in formation with the cheerleaders just ahead of me. And then I spotted my dad. He was often doing the unexpected, like the time he took me shoe shopping. I'd been checking out one of the shoe displays when I realized my dad had disappeared. Oh boy, here he goes again, I thought. Of course, he popped up from behind one of the shoe displays with a huge, childish grin on his face. I remember one Sunday afternoon when we had company sitting and gabbing in the living room. He had secretly hidden a very large reel-to-reel tape recorder and managed to record the entire conversation. When he played it back, our guests were less than thrilled, but they were family and they knew my dad. Sometimes after supper, he would invite me to sit with him in the basement at his makeshift electronics workspace. When he was bored, he might turn to me and say, "Marsh, do you want to see mommy get mad?" I would nod yes and start laughing because I knew what was coming. It was always a good guess that my mom was on the phone with my Aunt Beatrice any time of day. He would move wires around and turn on the radio. We would hear them talking, and then abruptly my mother would say, "Beatrice, he's got us on the radio again." Slam. Yes, he was eccentric, but he was also brilliant. In fact, in the early 1960s, he invented the predecessor to the touch and contact medical thermometers. His trusting nature far outweighed his business sense, and he never profited from this most important accomplishment. It was believed that the lawyers he was working with somehow turned the patent into their own financial gain. Oh well. The whistle blew. We started marching to the tempo of the marching band. Once my dad spotted me getting closer and closer to him, he suddenly turned toward the group of cheerleaders that were passing. He started yelling, "Adele! Adele!" snapping away at her with his camera. His emotions had overwhelmed him. I didn't feel the least bit slighted. With a broad grin on my face, I thought to myself that this was exactly what I might expect from my father. It was still the best day of my life.
Nicely done, Marcia Fogel, everybody. Uh-oh, come on, computer. There we go. Nicely done, Marcia Fogel. All right, folks, up next, we have Sybil Bershbo with Sybil's story, Judy's Wedding. Sybil, take it away.
My cousin Judy's wedding was spectacular, perhaps in too many ways, but mostly because not one person in the entire family thought she would ever get married, including me. Yet there she was, resplendent in a long white veil and gown, surrounded by an array of matching white flowers, and walking down the aisle with a handsome bridegroom named Larry. I remember Judy as always being different from the rest of my cousins, who grew up back in the late 50s and early 60s. While all of them were shopping for husbands from age 18 on, Judy gave the impression that she would never marry and settle down. From the start, Judy was an irrepressible tomboy who never arrived home without bruises or on time. Her game was baseball, and she went bowling with the boys. Shopping with her mother for clothes or lunch with the girls was simply never an option. Later, Judy opted out of college and instead went to work as a truck driver for a cartage company. She told me she loved listening to sports all day on the radio and having all that freedom to drive around and watch the seasons change. So this is the way it was until it wasn't. One day, Judy pulled into a truck stop for lunch. As she breezed in, she inadvertently knocked into a guy and caused him to drop his briefcase. As a conversation was struck between the two, and they haven't stopped talking to each other since. Shortly after, Judy dropped the overalls, became a fashion queen, and enrolled in college. Her mother loved Larry, and Larry loved Judy. Because the entire family was aware of this caterpillar's emergence into a butterfly, everyone was interested at the wedding. It didn't hurt that cocktails and champagne flowed like water during the reception, but people were anxious to get on to dinner as a popular orchestra had been planned for the dancing afterwards. I hated to pull myself away from the table at dinner as dinner was about to be served, but nature called, too many drinks. The affair was in a beautiful hotel, and so I was not surprised the bathroom was also glitzy. The sinks were of ornate marble and the walls and ceilings were all mirrored. As I came out of one of the stalls, it was impossible not to notice the beautiful dresses as the women hovered, fixing their stockings, their bras, or their makeup. I then noticed a woman sitting quietly on a chair in a darkened corner nearby. Her clothing was very subdued, jacket and skirt, and of all things, a dated-looking hat with a veil that covered her face. She didn't be an invitee. After I left the bathroom, I felt something wasn't. It hit me as I resumed my seat at the dinner table. My God, I yelled, that was no woman in the ladies' room. That was a man posing as a woman, a regular peeping Tom. I told my companions I had just spotted him in the ladies' room wearing a dark suit and gloves and a veiled black hat that would have been suitable on Myrna Loy in the 1940s. As I said this, I felt a sense of urgency and responsibility for what I alone had witnessed. At once, a few people at the table left to go reported to the authorities in the hotel. But the fact that there were still women in the washroom undressing or doing whatever one did in the bathroom caused me and several other women to go flying back into the washroom to create a. When we arrived, we immediately saw the empty, straight-backed wooden chair he had been sitting on. He was gone. By then, many guests were apprised of the situation, and when asked, were told to look for a bony-kneed man dressed in a plaid skirt and a black veiled hat. I was worried this commotion was detracting heavily from what we were all there for and almost wished I had kept quiet. Anyway, the music and dancing began and all seemed to have been forgotten. But was it? We soon got through that the man had been picked up and they were interrogating him in the lobby downstairs. To my dismay, a sweeping amount of guests made their way down via the stairs and elevators. The rumor was the police already knew him. Luckily, by the time the wedding cake was rolled out, everything appeared to be on track. In retrospect, I could say poor Judy and Larry, but I think Judy and Larry were so much in love, they didn't know what was going on. After all, lots of people say they don't remember their wedding day without a visit from a war voyeur with a previous arrest record. And this is all confirmed by the fact that Judy and Larry went on to have a fabulous honeymoon, a lovely family, and remain happy to this day. I, on the other hand, cannot forget that shocking little intrusion.
Thank you, Sybil. There we go. Computer. My goodness, these buttons don't want a button today. Up, folks. Folks, we have a major dysfunctional circus next by Michelle Ann Peterson. Okay, Michelle.
Thank you. Many years ago, when I was a little girl, my friends and I sat around planning our weddings. We knew what dress we would look like. Mine was going to be Elizabeth Taylor from Father of the Bride. We knew who we were going to marry and where we would have it. It was going to be the happiest day of our lives. When my ex-husband proposed to me, I immediately started to plan my wedding. I put down a down payment on the hall, conferred with the priest. He did not want to marry us because we were living in sin. My father went to battle for us. We got the date we wanted. We put down, and I immediately put down payments on the photographer, the cake, the limousine, the band, and the invitations until we sat down with his parents and started talking about who was to be invited. Immediately, his mother and father barked. They did not want his sister's boyfriend coming to the wedding. They were still mad about their dear darling daughter running off to New York with the rhythm guitarist from her brother's band, my soon-to-be husband. He's Black. A fight ensued, and his parents threatened us that they would not show up for the wedding, help us pay for it, and would never speak to us again. His father was so adamant and very demanding and boisterous about this statement. I was shocked. My mother was appalled at the statement made by his parents. My parents didn't like them from the time they first met them. Paul's parents had invited my parents over for dinner. At the dinner table, my soon-to-be father-in-law went into his racist tirade about the Jews, the Irish, African Americans. My liberal Democrat parents were just appalled. After dinner on the way home, my mother told me she did not want me to get married to him. His family was too much like the Nazis. This put us in an awkward position and painful. We had to call Ron up and tell him he was not allowed. Talking to him on the phone one evening just put a huge lump in my stomach. We could hear the disappointment in his voice. And then he said, I figured as much. Your dad is a racist. I have never had to tell someone they were not wanted or welcome. Ron came from a very good family. His father was a 15th degree Mason. Ron was well educated, a good musician. My ex-husband and Ron had known each other for about 5 years. They were in a band together. My soon-to-be husband was working a 9-to-5 job now. He dropped out of the band. Ron was living in New York with Paul's sister. This was the reason Paul's father did not want Ron at the wedding. And he told Paul that it was his fault that Julie, his sister, was dating Ron. He was extremely angry at Paul for introducing them, when in reality, what really happened was Julie showed up at all their practice sessions and they just started dating. The wedding day came. As my father drove me up to the church that day, we sat in the car for a couple of minutes. He turned to me and said, "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" I laughed it off, thinking he was kidding around. And then he said, "No, seriously, I can take you to the airport and buy you a ticket to California." When I got to the altar, I noticed Paul's face was swollen. He had a black eye. While we were in the limousine on our way to the reception, Paul informed me he and his groomsmen were in a bar fight with several diners the night before. Paul blamed his brother for starting the fight. Paul and his brother John started fighting in the limo with each other, and John's girlfriend started arguing with my sister in the limo. My sister was the maid of honor and did not like that John's girlfriend was in the limo with us. At the reception, there was a lot of petty fighting. My mother's neighbor's husband was drunk and hitting on my older sister. One of the groomsmen got drunk and started fighting with his wife, and then went to make out with my neighborhood girlfriend in his car. My mother was approached by one of her friends and was informed that they were sitting next to the hollandaise sauce. And my mother looked at her and she said, she was confused. She said, "There's no hollandaise sauce on the menu." And then she said, "The DP's from Holland," she exclaimed while jabbing my mother. She was referring to my mother-in-law's relatives who came from Holland. Finally, my sister-in-law was upset about her boyfriend not being there and wanted to know, why didn't we stand up to her parents? I asked her, "Why didn't you stand up to your parents?" I was very intimidated by his parents, mostly his father. Also, I felt confused and hurt. And this was just not a way to start a new life. I wish I had more backbone. Or I wish I had eloped. Or I wish I had never gotten married. As it turned out, Ron and Julie eventually broke up and married other people. Ron went on to become a studio musician and is doing very well in New York with his family. I'm almost positive Ron is happy he didn't make it to the wedding. It was a major dysfunctional circus. I got drunk that night. Thank you.
Ann Peterson, thank you for sharing that. Oh, yeah, dysfunctional circus indeed. My goodness. Going in a different direction, we have Donna sharing her story, The Dress. Donna, take a second to unmute yourself for us. Fabulous. All right, folks, this is Donna.
Grandpa, oh grandpa, tonight is your night. All your grandchildren quell with delight. It does our hearts good to see you honored tonight. It makes us so proud of you. As I finished singing that fakakta song with lyrics my father wrote to the tune of Matchmaker, Matchmaker from Fiddler on the Roof, Rabbi Schechter grabbed my hand as I was rushing off the dais to down another whiskey sour and settle my 16-year-old nerves. I know I was a little drunk. How else would I be able to sing that song at the gala honoring my grandfather's retirement as the president of the Mashalou Jewish Center, the most righteous Orthodox congregation in the Bronx? However, all I really remember about that evening was the rabbi talking to me while staring at my tits. Yes, he was sitting down and I was standing up, so eye contact might have been at tit level. But to this day, I'm still dismayed that this hero of the Holocaust, the first army captain to liberate the Buchenwald concentration camp, a man who tended survivors, offered solace and prayer to the imprisoned, and aided in the resettlement of Elie Wiesel and other displaced Jews, was ogling my tits while congratulating me on honoring my grandfather's service to his synagogue. Pulling my hand from his, I skulked away in search of the bar, intending to avoid the rabbi forever. Over the years, men talking to my tits would not be uncommon. There was my boss, who for 15 years never took his eyes off my chest during every conversation. Or the man who walked up to me at a bar, tapped me on the shoulder, grinned widely, and said, "You have really big boobs." When I asked him to please wait 1 minute so I could turn to my left to share my news with my brother Scott and our friend Stan, the guy vanished. I think at 68, my discomfort with men talking to my tits stems from how my small busted mother embraced the idea that showing décolletage and cleavage was very fashionable. And in her 1970s opinion, if you got it, flaunt it. At 16, I hated being that kind of fashionable. The last thing I wanted to do was call attention to my overly ample bosom. However, when I saw that dress with the plunging neckline, I fell in love. Mother bought it for me for my brother Steve's bar mitzvah, knowing that I'd need to wear it again for Grandpa's gala and possibly other events, such as my prom, if she had her way and I even went. I really did love that dress. It had billowing white sleeves, a shimmering Middle Eastern brocade pattern in silk, covering the bodice, then vertically alternating with the white fabric down to the floor. Tried it on. My mother, my sister Robin, and I knew it was made for me. Despite realizing the neckline would require me to go braless or put in a small snap to close the overlapping fabric at the neckline. I was all for the snap. My mother, on the other hand, was all for no bra. So no bra won out, hence the rabbi talking to my 16-year-old tits. By the time I wore the dress to my prom, I surreptitiously put in a small snap at the neckline, making it more comfortable for me to wear it. Despite the mishigas with the neckline and being creeped out by the rabbi, I wanted to keep that dress forever. In it, I was regal. As the first and last floor-length dress I ever owned, it broke my heart to give it away to make room in my tiny studio apartment's closet for clothes that I bought for myself. However, when I think back on that dress, I recognize it as not only a symbol of my brother Steve being welcomed into the shul as a man, and my grandfather surrendering his leadership to other righteous men, but a symbol of my moving on to college and career and what I could do when challenged to sing someone else's song, wear someone else's wardrobe choice, or suffer someone else's gaze. I may not be flaunting my bosom, but I'm certainly comfortable with it now.
Donna, everybody. Cheers to you. Every time you say if you've got it, flaunt it, I like go to the producers, that Mel Brooks musical, right, in that song. But thank you for sharing that. Up next, folks, we have a fun little story, Big Feet and the People You Meet by Joni Dobson.
Thank you. My mom loved to shop, especially with me. I was her only daughter. She made it a fall ritual to buy me a brand new wardrobe at the beginning of each school year. I remember in high school, we'd pick a day and off we'd go to Betty's of Winnetka. Mom would sit in a comfy chair like she was Eileen Ford, and I would model beautiful woolen plaid skirts, matching cable knit sweaters over a white starch Peter Pan colored blouse topped up with a gold-plated circle pin. All great fun until shoe shopping. My mom loved shoe shopping. I hated it, mostly because I had huge feet. Mom, nobody has feet as big as mine. Honey, my feet are bigger than yours. We're just big boned. But you're an adult. In a world where all my friends wanted to look like 60s waif model Twiggies, I felt like Gulliver in a land of Lilliputians. But Mom was determined to make shoe shopping fun and to make me feel better about my big feet. That's where Capezios came in. Capezios were amazing. They were stylish. They came in a million different colors. And most importantly, they made me feel a little more feminine, almost as if I were a ballerina. I wore them all the way through college. And then two things happened. Capezio went back to their core business, making ballet slippers, and I grew up. I grew up and my feet got even bigger. Now, some of you may say, oh no, I have really big feet. But I defy you to have feet bigger than mine. I wear a size, wait for it, 10.5. Department stores boast we carry all women's shoe sizes 5 and up, and all half sizes up to 10. No 10.5s? What am I supposed to do? Stuff my big foot into a size 10 like I'm Cinderella's ugly stepsister? I continued the fall wardrobe buying tradition into adulthood, buying conservative suits for work, dressy jeans and cute little jackets for weekend wear. But the shoes, boring, pumps, pumps, pumps. I was in my 50s when I happened upon the 10.5 aisle at Nordstrom's Rack. What? Suede purple flats? 4-inch red patent leather heels and skinny leather knee-high boots, all in size 10.5? I'd hit the mother lode. And I met the most wonderful people in the 10.5 aisle at Nordstrom Rack. We seemed to have a bond. That's where I met Agnes. Agnes was tall and lean. She had curly blondish hair, fairly tight to her head, with just a few gray hairs sticking out here and there. She looked quite elegant in her cream linen pants, cream sweater, with a bright pink and orange, red poncho, which she must have bought some exotic place. She looked like a model. Well, maybe a model in an AARP magazine. I noticed one of her eyes looked tired, different, but her smile was infectious. And she told me how she flew to Mexico every other month to buy silver jewelry, and she would sell it at swanky women's cocktail parties. I found her fascinating. She said she lived in Northfield. I told her I lived in Glenview. We were both divorced, lived by ourselves, and each had a son and a daughter who had moved away. She suggested we meet for a drink and dinner at Mitchell's Seafood Restaurant in the Glen. I love Mitchell's Seafood Restaurant in the Glen. 5 o'clock on a Tuesday night seemed to work. We sat at a high top at the bar. She ordered a Sauvignon Blanc, I ordered a Cabernet, and we each ordered a salad for dinner, dressing on the side. As we sat waiting, she started to rub her eye. I asked if she was okay. Oh, yes, she said, but you do know I have a glass eye. No, I did not know that. It's really a good one. I can barely tell. Do you ever take it out? Oh, every night. You want to see it? Of course I want to see it. I mean, I always wondered what was behind a glass eye. Could you see right inside a person's head? So she popped it out and she dropped it into the glass of water right in front of me. We looked at it for a while, and then she casually popped it back into her socket. We paid our bill, and she told me she was off to Mexico to buy some more jewelry. Every now and again, we'd see each other in the fall, shopping in the 10.5 section at Nordstrom Rack. Once we even bumped into each other at an art exhibit downtown. We said hi, talked about how much we liked each other's shoes. I hope I see you next fall at Nordstrom Rack, I said. Me too, Agnes laughed and added, hey, I heard they just opened a size 12 and 13 section. I adored Agnes. We had such a great connection. We've shared such intimacies. And you couldn't really call us best friends, but you might call us soul sisters. Thank you.
Joni Dobson, everybody. I love the magic of soul sisters. I love that line. I love that line. I love that line. Okay, folks, we got a couple more stories for you. Great ones rounding us out. Up next is the fabulous Teresa McCrae with the Summer Jam. All right, Teresa, your turn.
I have a group of friends that I refer to as my village. Like a village, we have grown together, grown apart, and supported each other through this life for years. We text daily about this and that because we no longer live in the same city and we don't see each other every day like we used to. One of these village members is the founding father of a party that became the event of the summer in the 90s. The event began as Malik's idea to have a small garden party for a group of his friends and housemates, most of which were fellow teachers, elementary and high school, very eager to celebrate summer break. His housemates all agreed to host, which meant there was enough space to set up special areas in the brownstone they all shared in Rogers Park. A teenage daughter entertained babies and toddlers in one apartment to shield them from adult festivities. The back room of Malik's apartment was turned into a green room for smokers of all sorts, and the dining room was set up for various games of spades. You could grab a floor pillow and watch a video in the living room or chill in the backyard, which was strung with lights that wrapped around a makeshift dance floor where the aroma of the grill was the strongest. The back door led into the kitchen where the rest of the food was available. That first party was such a success among the core group that the Summer Jam was born. From then on, there was always a party a month before the event to plan the Summer Jam. We came there with our specialties to get the committee's approval. Zakiah made a mean peach cobbler. Eric, master on the grill, brought barbecue chicken wings. Daisha had various salads for us to try. I brought samples of rum and tequila jello shots, and Lily made a potent rum punch to wash it all down. Now, by year 3, we were preparing this event for over 75 people, with returners contributing their own favorite dish to share. People were now coming from out of town to celebrate the beginning of summer with us. One village member said she heard her coworkers discussing they were excited to go to something called the Summer Jam over on the north side. She knew then we had done a stunt. The Summer Jam had so many memories. Doreen, mother of a teenage babysitter, private school teacher, and sorority sister of mine, brought her crochet needles and yarn to each jam. With her plate of food and cup of rum punch perched on the TV chair in front of her, she would tell people about the fashion items she was creating, in between dancing to her jams, especially at Tina Marie Bach. Preston did a decent job, especially considering he was an unpaid DJ. But that one time, it started out great. He was on a Michael Jackson roll. Then he played Rock With You. Di and Inez had the dance area to themselves, singing and stepping, while the rest of us took a breather on the sidelines. We were all swaying and swinging to the music, waiting for that part. After you build up all that energy for that last rock, when Michael hits that perfect guttural girl, that part, he cut it off right in the middle of the girl. Inez and Di stopped. They threw their hands up in the air. They start muttering something I will not repeat here, and left the area. All of a sudden, Preston pops his head out the window because he hears us groaning and says, what happened? Why you not dancing? I don't think Preston ever knew my real name. He always called me Shot Girl, even outside the Summer Jam. I was responsible for giving shots to him inside the DJ room and passing them out to the party goers as well. Apparently, my shots are very strong, but since I'm not a drinker, I didn't know how potent they were, but I did carry these little flashing lights in my pocket. So if someone got overserved, I would pin a little light on their lapel or whatever they had on. And that meant they were cut off. That meant no more drinks of any sort. I was amazed how strong those little cups of Jello seemed to be, because by the end of the jam, my little flashing lights were twinkling on somebody in every room. I do have one favorite memory, very simple, swinging back and forth on the hammock with my friend, talking about what we were going to do for the rest of the summer, what rooftop party we were going to go to, how we were going to look. It was just the perfect night. The moon was full. It lit up the sky. Very chilled, just how the Summer Jam should be. The Summer Jam is now a memory, just like that moment. The villagers have grown older, gotten married, and moved away. Though recently, I met 2 of them for dinner. They enjoyed reliving memories of the Summer Jam, and they wanted me to add some more. But time is short, and some stories really need to stay in the village.
Nicely done. Teresa McCrae, everybody. Teresa, you were probably serving them like 90% vodka and 10% Jello.
I probably was. I probably was, the way people were saying, "Ooh, these are so strong, girl."
So
And
funny.
are you gonna make some more? Is the Chucker here?
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Teresa. All right, folks, we got 3 more stories coming for you. Up next is Barbara Payne with her story, Music Magic. Barbara, take a second to unmute yourself for me. There you are. All right, folks, this is Barbara Payne.
My fondest wish as I grew older was to have a karaoke recording of me singing some of my favorite songs, especially the one I wanted my family to remember me by. I'd never heard the song until I was about 65. It's by Lynyrd Skynyrd, and it starts out like this. Call me the breeze, I keep rolling down the road. The lyrics are all about being alone, free to roam, and not tied to anyone, which seems to be how I'm feeling more and more as I grow even older. After I'd heard the song many times and I continued to face serious heart challenges, I started telling my then 5-year-old granddaughter, Sophia, to remember. After I'm gone, honey, you'll know I'm with you when you feel the breeze caressing your cheek. I told her, you'll know it's me because it'll be soft and gentle. And I hope it'll make you think about when I used to stroke your face as you fell asleep. When I'd be outside with Sophia on a seriously windy day, though, I'd say, remember, when it's blowing this hard, that's not me, that's Mariah. They call the wind Mariah. Now let's meet Sophia's amazing mother, Perry. She's a freaking wizard at making events into grand spectacles. From small happy hours where she is shucking the oysters to luxurious bar mitzvahs for 200. And she planned my 70th birthday party, which was, as most of the attendees agreed, the best party they'd ever been to. And now Perry is my second born daughter. She started baking at age 11. And her very first effort was a complicated recipe from Julia Child. And then I remember that same year, she surprised me by decorating the whole house for my birthday. She went to the drugstore and selected the balloons and the streamers and the other decorations and bought them with her own money. Yes, at age 11, she earned money working at the parish rectory and after her Catholic school closed each Tuesday and Thursday. She hung all the decorations all over the house, many from the ceiling. I don't know what she climbed on for that, but I was extremely moved to find this grand effort on my behalf when I got home from work that day. It is still one of my most memorable birthdays. Now to the 70th birthday party to end all parties. Perry knew how I'd tried several times to get a recording of me singing Call Me the Breeze. So she got the idea to hire a karaoke DJ in order to grant my wish. She got referrals, and because she was incredibly busy at work, she asked me to help find the right DJ, and we did. But besides that, she did everything else towards planning the party, and she paid for it all. It was truly spectacular. We had a private party room, complete with stage, no less, and we feasted on unlimited juicy burger sliders and crispy fries and drinks at the open bar. But the real magic was the karaoke. In our family, we all tend to be lovers of the spotlight in one way or another, an Irish-Scottish clan with pretty big egos. So every one of us, 6 out of 9 siblings, along with my friends, was thrilled to get up to the microphone and belt out favorite tunes. When people weren't singing, dancing, or laughing together, they were dancing with abandon. A chorus line of my brothers got up and sang the Beatles version of "They Say It's Your Birthday." And to our genuine surprise, one of my brothers got up and sang to his wife of nearly 50 years, "Hello, is it me you're looking for?" As both my friends and another of my brothers put it, I can't remember having this much fun at a party since I was a kid. Now, for almost every party anyone in our family throws these days, the question is always, are we going to have karaoke? Thank you.
Lovely. Barbara Payne, everybody. Lovely, lovely story. All right, folks, we're down to our final two. Up next is Judy Parker. Judy Parker's story, Purdue University Airport or Bust. Judy, the floor is yours.
This spring, my dad went on the honor flight. Every year, veterans from all over the country are flown into Washington, D.C. for the day. There's a ceremony with honor guard, a military band, speeches, and fanfare. They all go to the memorials with ceremonies at each one honoring their service. It's a long day. You heard of people being yes men that agree with everything? Well, my dad's a no man. You like your dinner? No, it was bad. Would you like cake? No, I want pie. Do you want pie? No, I want ice cream. Complaining gives him endless joy. Something's always wrong. My brother went with him. My sister would meet him in DC, and I would be there when he landed. There were hundreds of people would be greeting the plane with signs and flags. His flight would land at Purdue University's airport at 8 o'clock, a convenient 2.5 hours away. Oh, the photos I was going to get. My award-winning photo of the plane coming in for a landing, I could smell Pulitzer. I brought a flag, made a sign, and a salad. I had Google Maps on my phone. It said, I'll arrive with 40 minutes to spare. Time to eat my salad as I plan my photo shoot in the parking lot. I drive off. I run into some traffic downtown. My phone now says 38 minutes to spare. At the Chicago Skyway, it's 32 minutes, but it's okay. I'll go 80 on the Indiana toll road. So I'm flying when all at once we're crawling. Construction, shit, 7 miles an hour. Geez, it's 28 minutes now, but it's okay. In 8 miles, I'll get off at I-65. I can go 85, 90. I get on I-65. And are you kidding me? Again with the crawling? Is every Indiana road under construction today? Now it's at 22, and I start to get nervous. With all this tension, I realize I have to pee, but I can't stop now. I'll lose 15 minutes. I keep driving. I see a sign, rest area, 16 miles. It now becomes clear to me that the pee situation is now at DEFCON 1. I use every pee prevention technique known. This is not go time. With muscles tightened, I start shifting around, side to side, backward, forward, so the pee goes into some other cavity. I mean, who knows? I could have a second bladder. I keep driving. The rest area sign has a big close sign slapped across it. Oh, there's humanity. I keep going. Ahead, there's another rest area. I pull in. There's only bathrooms and vending machines with stale cheddar cheese crackers with peanut butter. But I pee in record time. I just keep going. I start up the car and the gas light is blinking. Oh, of course it is. But I have a Prius. It's good with gas, but still scary. 15 minutes, 12 miles to go. I'm going 85. I'm going to make it. I get off the exit. Okay, I've passed maybe 20 exits, all with gas stations, but here, nothing. It's just farmland, no town, no gas stations, just land with just planted crops. It's like that scene in North by Northwest with Cary Grant running, being chased by an airplane, except there's no Cary Grant, no airplane, just me and my blue Prius and my warm salad. There's no oncoming cars. If I run out of gas, I won't be found for days. Who knows? I may never be found. I keep switching roads, looking down at my phone. There's a curve ahead, but It's not. Oh my God, it's a 90-degree angle. I'm now off the road. I'm driving down a ravine. I mean, I think it's a ravine. I think that's what a ravine is. I just know I'm going downhill. I tell myself, hang on to the steering wheel while I'm visualizing being stuck in a ditch. Then miraculously, the car levels out. I am now sitting in a cornfield. My gas lights blinking, terrorizing me. Oh, please don't let me run out of gas in a cornfield. I have to get back up on the road, but it's steep and I'll have to use a lot of gas to get back up. I see it's flat up ahead. So I just keep driving in the cornfield. As I'm doing this, I'm thinking, you have to get back on the road. You're driving in a cornfield. I got to tell people about this. Don't run out of gas. I drive until it's easy to get back up on the road. Soon there's a Myers store with gas. At 2 minutes, I put a little in and step on it. I see the Purdue University airport sign. I pull in. The plane has already landed. My Pulitzer dream shattered. Hundreds of people there, lots of red, white, and blue. And there's my dad, front and center in his wheelchair, surrounded by his nurses and my brother. Hi, Dad. You think he's excited to see me? Well, you're thinking wrong. I'm cold. I'm hungry. I want to go back to my room. My brother and the staff from his nursing home look tired and forlorn. When I tell them I was driving in a cornfield, they wish they would have been in a cornfield. Where's the bus? Where's the driver? He was 90 seconds away from calling attorney Peter Francis Geraci to report elder abuse. I don't know why he's complaining. I'm the one who lost the Pulitzer, but he was on a roll. I'm cold. Put me back in my bed. They gave him some snacks and got him on the bus to go back to his beloved bed. Daddy, I'm going home now. I kissed him goodbye. He stopped his shtick abruptly. Oh, thank you for coming. Then without a beat, I can't eat peanuts. That's my dad. So I drove home, this time avoiding cornfields, ending my day in the Myers parking lot, eating my very warm salad as I filled up with gas. Thank you.
Judy Parker, everybody. I can't eat peanuts.
Yeah.
What a character. What a great guy. Cheers to your dad. Cheers to the whole fam. Folks, we got our final story for you, and then we've got another round later this afternoon, part 2 of this session stories. But before we go, we have a fantastic one. This is Shaggy Goes to Prom by Lo. Take it away.
The first fancy schmancy event I participated in was during high school. I was a member of the Senior Boys and Senior Girls Council at Chicago Vocational. As ambassadors for the school, we were required to take etiquette classes to teach us to be proper ladies and gentlemen. We served lunch like maids and butlers to high-profile visitors. For one visit, I was serving water to a high-ranking politician. I accidentally poured half of the water in his lap and the other half on the floor when the top of the canister fell off. I was quickly escorted out as he cursed profanities. I was horrified. My second event was senior prom. I couldn't afford the expenses of the prom. Suddenly, my depression turned into excitement. Neither of my sisters went on prom, and I would be the first to attend a prom. My Prince Charming was on the Senior Boys Council. He paid the fees. His aunt, my fairy godmother, sold my self-designed halter gown of baby blue satin, lunging back drape, and a thigh slit on one side. I wanted the elegance of Diana Ross and the wow factor of Lola Falana. I saved enough money from my part-time job to buy a purse and shoes. What should have been a Cinderella moment before the stroke of midnight turned into a full-out culture war. Dumbass, I refused to call him by his government name, picked me up from my friend's house in a Mustang that had bright orange, loopy carpet on the interior seats, doors, floor, and ceiling. It was the car he won an award for in auto shop class. I thought you were going to borrow your cousin's car. Just get in. You have to open the door for me. What's wrong with you? Just get in. You country ass bumpkin. You know better. We both were taught in etiquette classes what to do. He ignored me and hopped in the car. He then reached over to the passenger door and pushed the door open like I was cattle. I knew I had been hoodwinked. He wanted a trophy, a pretty girl, to ride in that Fred Flintstone throwback of a car with him. I took my time swerving my legs into the car. We argued the entire way to the event. Once again, he wouldn't open the door for me as I tried to unstick the static cling of my gown caused from sitting on that ridiculous carpet. As we sat at our table, dumbass ate all the dinner rolls like a prisoner with 5 minutes to eat. My friends and their dates were looking at him with a mix of disgust and embarrassment for me. Why are you eating all the dinner rolls up? I'm hungry. I turned to my friends and I told them I was going to crash the prom of Whitney Young as dumbass protested. They were having their prom on another floor of the hotel. As I wandered around, I took photos until I rejoined my prom. My best friend ran up to me. It's time to take the pictures. You missed dinner and he ate yours. Where's stupid? Girl, I don't know. I knew you were pissed when you left. I didn't think you would come back. I wouldn't have if stupid wasn't my ride. Dumbass and I were one of the last couples to take our photo. I smiled cutely and demure. He smiled as if he was full of gas. I swore to God that if he farted, I was going to slap the punk out of him. Although there was a DJ, I refused to dance with him. Just being near him caused the veins in my forehead and neck to pop out. We left the same way we came, fussing. The best part of the prom was seeing my high school crush, so fine, attend the prom with a homely girl, and none of the cheerleaders are popular girls. So fine, had asked me to go to the prom with him. Due to his popularity and my own insecurities, I told him no. He looked at me pitifully as to say, this could have been you. I looked at him hormonally in response. You could have been in this. I wasn't fast, but Lord knows if I had gone on prom with him, I was going to be that night. To this day, dumbass is still a dumb ass. And I have no idea where the prom pictures are. I'm still salty about the prom not being perfect or the classy affair that I envisioned. Life had other fancy schmancy affairs that I attended, and a car with orange, shaggy carpet was not involved. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's been 6 weeks and that story still never failed to make me giggle uncontrollably. Folks, those are the 10 stories we have for you today. Let's hear it for the amazing lineup. Jean, Brian, Marcia, Sybil, Michelle, Donna, Joni, Teresa, Barbara, Judy, and Lo. Thank you, everybody, for your brilliant work on this session. Folks, I hope you had a great time watching, or if you're not watching this live, maybe you're watching this in a week, in a month, in years from now. Thank you for tuning in and honoring these stories. GeNarrations is a program at the Goodman Theater. Check out that website, goodmantheater.com, and theater R-E, not E-R. And if you're interested in joining the program, let us know. We have sessions every season, fall, winter, spring, and summer. Until then, take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.